Hello and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we're taking a look at the Quilted Star Backdrop die and the Itsy Bitsy Polka Dot Background Hot Foil Plate. Here's a look at what the Quilted Star Backdrop die looks like when it is run through the die cut machine. It will cut out an A2 panel, which is 4¼ by 5½, with little star cutouts and little stitching details in between for that really cool quilted look. When you layer this over another piece of cardstock, that color will show through those cute little stars. This is really fun to add a contrasting color or even some sparkle to your projects. For the Itsy Bitsy Polka Dot Background Hot Foil Plate, we're going to lay this on our glimmer machine once the platform is ready and that green light is solid, and then we're going to hit that timer button. Once that timer button stays green and doesn't blink anymore, we know we're ready to hot foil with our Itsy Bitsy Polka Dot plate. We're going to put our foil with the pretty side facing the plate, then our cardstock, and then we will add the two plates that come with the glimmer foil system. We'll pop this platform off of the base and run this through our die cut machine. Putting pressure on that plate, we get this really pretty foil Itsy Bitsy Polka Dot background. Now let's make some cards using these products. Here I have foiled the polka dot background on a piece of white cardstock with some gold foil, and I'm cutting it out with the largest of the outside-in stitch rectangles. I'm recreating a card that Yainea made today, so thank you so much, Yainea. I'm pulling out this pink striped paper from the Rainbow Ever After Petite Paper Pack, and I will be using the You Make Me Smile sentiment from the Give It a Whirl Messages Friends stamp set. I'm going to be doing some embossing, so I am going to prep my paper with my anti-static powder tool, stamp this in some clear embossing ink, and then I will use my gold embossing powder and pour that all over that sticky ink to where it sticks to my stamped sentiment. Then I can take my heat tool, and I like to heat my paper from the back just a little bit before I bring that heat to the front. I'm going to keep that moving so that we don't scorch anything, and we melt that embossing powder till we get that nice shimmery gold sentiment. Now I'm going to use the coordinating die for the Give It a Whirl Messages Friends set to cut out this circle. This is going to cut it out perfectly and give me that cute little dotted detail around the edge. For the images in this card, I'm using the Whoosh Kites stamp set, and I've already colored and cut them out, and I will just set them aside. I'm also taking the pink pattern paper from the Pint Size Patterns Summertime collection and cutting a piece of it down to 4¼ by 5½ and putting this onto a card base. This is going to give me a little peak of pink all the way around the edges. Now I can go ahead and add my foiled panel, and you'll see that pink frame all the way around this panel. To give my sentiment a little more stability, since I heat embossed it and it is a little warped, I cut a second circle out of white cardstock, and I'm just laminating these two together with some liquid glue. While that glue dries under an acrylic block so it's nice and flat, I'm pulling off a length of the turquoise hemp twine, and I'm going to be putting this behind that sentiment circle. Yainea made this really fun design where it looked like the twine connected the little mouse to the kite, and it kind of swooped behind the sentiment. So I have my little kite here, and I'm just going to place a glue dot onto this background as a place to hold the end of my twine. Next, what I'm going to do is kind of swoop it around underneath where that circle is going to go, and I'm actually going to add some adhesive runner right to the center so I can kind of tack that down as I arrange this twine. And I'm just kind of going back and forth, trying to go out to the edge a little bit so we make sure that we see this underneath that circle. And then I'm going to end it down in the bottom left corner so it looks like that little mouse is holding on to that twine with the roll of twine that is in his hand. So I'll just trim that off. I added another glue dot to hold the end, and now I can add my little mouse with a foam square right on top of that glue dot and that twine. For the sentiment, I'm going to glue this directly onto that twine with some liquid glue. And you can see those edges are poking out, and now I can kind of adjust it a little bit since I have that liquid glue and just tack down with that adhesive under there. There is one other little mouse that I'm going to add down to the bottom. And again, I'm just using my acrylic block to hold that in place while that liquid glue sets. And then of course I have the little kite at the top, and all of these are added with a foam square. Now once that glue is dry, I have two more little clouds to add, and I will just add those with a little bit of liquid glue directly to the background. And here is that finished card design from Yainea. I love the idea of this twine being the string of the kite. I think that's really fun. And that gold embossed sentiment really goes perfectly with the gold foil polka dots. Now let's make a card with the quilted star backdrop die. And I'm recreating a card by Elise today. I'm changing it up a little bit and using some pattern paper for my background. And I am making a graduation card today. So I'm going to layer this pattern paper onto a piece of sunflower cardstock so we get those bright yellow stars showing through those openings. And I just like to use some liquid glue between those openings to make sure that this whole die cut piece stays well stuck down to my panel. Now I can add this to a card base just as it is. You could also add this to a card base made from yellow cardstock too if you wanted. And now I am ready to start to assemble the elements on the front. Now she created a graduation card, and I love that you can customize the year. This will work for any year using Louis' 123s. I'm also using the Scripty Congrats, and I cut that from some silver sparkle cardstock. And then she had some stars. There's lots of stars to pick from in the Lawn Fawn stamps, and I used the Lucky Charm stamp set that had a large and a small star. I just colored and cut those out with the coordinating dies, and now I can start to glue everything down. So I placed my numbers where I wanted them to be, and now I'm just picking them up and putting them back down with a little bit of liquid glue. And then next I'm going to add that Scripty Congrats. But when I picked it up and I put that glue on there, I was about to glue it down and I decided I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension. So what I did is I laid it to the side and I quickly cut out three more of the Scripty Congrats so that I could stack them together and get a thicker sentiment to layer across the bottom of my numbers. So I'm just adding liquid glue to laminate those layers of that Scripty Congrats together. And this is a really great way to add some dimension to detailed die cuts like this by just stacking them up and making like a thick chipboard-like die cut. So once I have all of those tacked together, I can just add glue to the back, and I'm going to layer this along the bottom of those numbers. I also like that the grid in my pattern paper makes it really easy to make sure things are nice and straight. Next, I'm going to add my little stars. I added a few more stars than Elise did, but I love stars. So I have some at the top and the bottom, and I'm adding these with some foam squares. I'm adding the big ones with thick foam squares and the small ones with thinner foam squares, so I have a little different in dimension. I also think that this card would be really fun to add a little graduation cap sitting on top of that zero. Don't you think that would be cute? So once I have all of my stars added to my background, of course I want to add a little bit of glitter to them to make them sparkle like that sentiment. So I've just pulled out my stickles and I'm adding a layer of glitter to all my little stars. And then here is that finished card inspired by the card that Elise made. And I think this would be really fun to customize to the school colors of the graduate that you're giving this to. Now let's take a look at some examples from the design team. This card by Grace is just beautiful. I love how she used the polka dots in the background on that pattern paper to create some shimmer behind her garden scene. Audrey created the sweetest baby card with the quilted star backdrop. I love those soft colors peeking through those star openings. And then this card by Megan is so sweet. I love the treat cart scene in the center, and it goes great with those polka dots in the background. This card by Maureen is so sweet. She used a sparkle behind those stars, and I love the look that she created. Letitia's card is so bright and colorful. I love how she ink blended that backdrop and made those sentiments really stand out on the front. Mindy ink blended a background and then she hot foiled over top to create a beautiful background for her big bold sentiment. This card by Rebecca is so fun. I love that she used rainbow foil in the background to go with those beautiful rainbow balloons. And then this card by Elena is so sweet. She die cut the ombre paper from Rainbow Ever After to create this cute little background for her treat card scene. And then here is the card that Yainea made that inspired the card that I created today. And then here is Elise's card that inspired the other card that I created today. So you can see just how you can change it up by changing the colors. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Bye.